let's break down two of the most powerful attachments that you're probably not using. We've been playing Warzone for quite a while, and pretty much Amped has been the go-to third perk. But last year they finally added a good contender, Combat Scout. And pretty much it's been a constant fight between the two of which one you should be using. Are you more laid back and do you prefer to tag your enemies? Or are you really aggressive and prefer Amped? But sometimes there are situations where it would be really helpful to have both. But now you kinda can. We'll be taking a look at Taped Grip and On Hand. I talked about these two in my Weapon Stats Explained video, but now I'm gonna get really into the details. Let's take a look at the base weapon stats and without Amped. To switch guns from the DP27 to the Gorenko, it takes about 2.3 seconds, and to switch from the Gorenko to the DP27, it takes 2.1 seconds. To throw a knife with the DP27, it takes 1.1 seconds. And to use a munitions box, it takes 2.3 seconds. Here are all the results so you can see them in written form. So now let's put on Amped and see what happens. It now only takes 1.1 seconds to switch from the DP27 to the Gorenko, and 1.1 seconds as well to go from the Gorenko back to the DP27. To throw a knife, it's now 0.9 seconds, and to use a munitions box, it's only 1.7 seconds. And now when we compare it against the base weapons and without Amped, we can see that it's quite a difference. When it comes to weapon swap speed, we're saving a whole second, which is what makes Amped so great. When it comes to equipment, the throwing knife is barely any faster, but you get a noticeable difference with the munitions box. So now let's try it out with a taped grip. The DP27 is the only one that's going to have taped grip, but both will have On Hand. Swapping from the DP27 to the Gorenko, it takes 1.1 seconds, but when we swap to the Gorenko to the DP27, it takes 2.1. Using a throwing knife with the DP27 is 0.9 seconds, and using a munitions box takes 1.7. So now if we compare it against the base weapons again, you can see that it is 1.2 seconds faster with taped grip, just like Amped. And the Gorenko to the DP27 is exactly the same as expected. And just like Amped, the throwing knife is 0.2 seconds faster and the munitions box is 0.6 seconds faster as well. So these attachments are exactly the same as using Amped. But what happens when we put it together? Does it make everything a little bit faster? Let's find out. Swapping from the DP27 to the Gorenko takes 1.1 seconds, and it takes the same to swap back to it. Throwing a knife takes 0.9, and using a munitions box takes 1.7. So sadly no, the Amped perk and these attachments do not stack. Now let's try with some more popular guns, the Bren and the MP40. Without any attachments or Amped, it takes 1.9 seconds to swap between the MP40 to the Bren, and also 1.9 seconds to swap from the Bren back to the MP40. With Amped and no attachments, it takes 1.1 seconds to swap from the MP40 to the Bren, and 1.4 seconds to swap from the Bren to the MP40. This is 0.8 seconds faster and 0.5 seconds faster than the base weapons. And with taped grip, it takes 1.1 seconds to swap from the MP40 to the Bren, and 1.4 seconds from the Bren to the MP40. Minus 0.8 seconds and minus 0.5 seconds, exactly like Amped. So does this mean that you should put these attachments on every weapon? Not necessarily, there's a lot of good attachments and perks out there, but there's a general rule you should follow. In Warzone, you typically only need to switch from your long-range weapon to your close-range weapon really fast. So if you want to run Combat Scout but still swap weapons quickly, then you can put taped grip on your long-range weapon. That way you can switch to your closer range weapon a lot faster. You're usually behind cover or have the time to swap to your long-range weapon. It's not in a panic situation usually. But the absolute best thing about this perk and attachment is that they don't rely on you grabbing your loadout to get them. With a normal loadout that has Amped, if you die and land on your loot, if you pick up your guns again, you're not going to have Amped anymore, so you're going to be swapping slowly. But if you got these attachments on, then as soon as you land back on your body and pick up your loot, the weapons will still be swapping just as fast, as well as being able to use equipment and plating up faster. Sure, you won't have Combat Scout anymore, but your weapons will be working exactly the way they were before. This can potentially mean that if you have a double Vanguard weapon loadout, then you will never need Amped. But even better is that if you're running a Cold War or Modern Warfare SMG or Assault Rifle as your closer range weapon, it's still gonna work. You won't be able to swap to your long range weapon as fast, but this is pretty great for making interesting loadouts. and I'm very interested to see if this affects the meta at all, because right now, Vanguard weapons are still the go-to for long range and close range. So right now it's absolutely possible to be playing completely meta without using Amped. But once the Vanguard guns get a bit more nerfed, then let's see what happens when some Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons come back to the top. So that was Taped Grip and On Hand. Have you tried using these before, or do you think that they're not worth running over more powerful perks and attachments? And as always, if there's any weapon build or part of the game you want to break down, let me know. You may see it on the next Community Wednesday. If you enjoyed the video or has helped you in any other way, let me know by leaving a like. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section down below. And if you want to make sure that you never miss another video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.